me and John Dees were dancing to some rap song. I forget what it was, but he started dancing and I started dancing with him. And then he goes, okay, I see you, Black. And from there, it was like it overturned the rest of the night. I was able to have fun.
The simplest way to put it, I have problems.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, a.k.a. Coach Silky, a.k.a. Roderick McDaniel, a.k.a. the cute co-host on the Pay Management Podcast. I'm next to the handsome one, Jimmy Moynihan. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. And I got some news for you guys. Thank y'all for your continued support on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, because you guys got us to this landmark episode. Yeah, I'm finger gunning because this is the start of season 2. Yeah! And we're starting season 2 off with a bang because we have a great guest in the studio, a homie to all of us on the episode. It's our boy, Drew Nickens. Drew, what's up, baby boy?
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm glad to be here. I love what y'all are doing here. So I was like, I need to get on and see if we can make some more magic, more than it's already happened.
I knew your energy was going to be just right. I knew it was going to be wild.
Yeah, Drew came up to me, said he's been watching the podcast and he wants to come on, and I'm super happy that you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
How have things been going lately?
A lot of pressure, but I'm living the dream and adjusting to everything as much as I can, because it is kind of a difficult thing to. In 6 months, your life is totally different, and your frame of mind is totally different. So we're working through it, and we're doing the best we can. And we're trying to just make people happy and get on stage and do whatever we can to.
So for people that don't follow comedy, can you just kind of clue them into what happened the last 6 months?
So in April-ish, May, I got on Kill Tony for the first time, and it has been a 10.5-month journey of driving to Austin from Dallas for 10.5 months every Monday, except for 3 Mondays. And I got on, and then I did really good. I got on, I did 4 minutes in the same episode. And then that's when I was named to be a part of the show. So I'm on the show every once in a while. And I moved to Austin now, and my job is full-time comedy. And it's just been a whirlwind. Because it's not like anybody thinks. It's a different process than everybody knows, you know. So it's a great thing, but it's been a wild life.
Definitely a very unique situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
But so you're feeling you feel pressure.
I mean, there's always going to be pressure because when you know that there's 2.2 people watching an episode,
2.2 million.
Yeah, 2.2 million people watching an episode, and you're on there. There is this, even 1% of 2.2 million is 22,000. That's what, right? Yeah.
Is it really? Wow.
Because 10% is 220. So, like, when 22,000 people like a comment of Drew Nickens sucks or Drew Nickens that, and having to learn that that's going to happen. No matter what happens, you know.
Do you read comments on the episodes?
I try not to now.
Yeah.
I've stopped, but
Christina Mariani said that to me one time. Never read the comments.
Oh yeah.
Stay out of the comments. Aren't for you. Stay out of the comments.
Yeah.
I know my buddies David Jolly and Cam Patterson. They said the comments they'll drive you crazy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did it.
And it's like,
I'll never do it again.
I mean, it's just wild how many people just feel like they have, like, I don't know what they get out of being negative on the internet.
But what I've realized is no one's ever mean to me when they see me.
Yeah.
As much as people want to say that they hate me, they never say anything negative. They're always happy to see me. So, I just take it with a grain of salt. You really love this show and you want your opinion to be heard. So you say your opinion, even though you don't know any of the context. And so I've had to learn to live with the comments and the pressure of like last week, I did a minute on my brother. He passed away 7 years ago. But the reason I was doing a minute on my brother is because there's a charity that's in his name in memoriam of him for young adults 18 to 24, where they get a place to stay, they get blankets, they get job training, all this amazing stuff. And I wanted to be able to bring it out on this platform because it could help a lot of people.
Right.
And it's took me a whole week to be like, you know what? People are going to forget about that minute. But the people whose lives are changed because of Jesse's Place, and maybe if it doesn't make a lot of money, even if it's $100, if we make $100 from it, $100 can go a long ways in helping someone be better. So I've had to wrap my head around that and not beat myself up like a lot of people do, and when they don't feel like everything was great. So we're learning and growing.
100%. And comedy is like it feels different for you because the reality is that comedies, I mean, it's a marathon. It's like it's years and years and years of getting better and better and better. And in your situation right now, it's, you're looking at every week as like, millions of people are going to watch. This has to be perfect. And that would drive me batshit crazy. Yeah, I think you're doing great. You're a huge fan of Kill Tony for a long time, right?
Yeah. I
so
used
this
to watch.
has to be pretty crazy for you.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy to like understand that you're on a different side of the coin now, because
you're part of the show,
and you're all these people now. You shake hands with them every Monday. You're smiling, you're laughing, you're having a good time. You're hanging out with them outside of Kill Tony. You get to know who they are, and
it's amazing.
Like I did a show with Sad Man Rick Diaz. In Shreveport a couple months ago, or like a month ago, and we were hanging out afterwards. We put $20 in a slot machine, $10 from me, $10 from him, and we were just taking turns, just playing slots and just having the best time. And it's like,
that's what it's all about.
You would have told me 6 months ago I'd be hanging out and seeing these people as people.
Yeah,
I'd be like, oh wow, that's crazy.
That's so cool.
Dude, I call Cam nephew all the time. Dude, I love that dude, but every time I see him, I just start smiling from ear to ear. Y'all, there's a bunch of y'all on the show that I feel that way about, man.
Yeah.
Y'all are okay, so right now it's you, Heath, Cam. Who else are like Hans? Has he still been showing up lately?
Hans shows up, David Jolly, Ari Maddie, but David Lucas will show up, Uncle Laser, Fiona Caldy will show up. Aya Amir just got a golden ticket. Amazing golden ticket. When she also works on the show, so we've known her. So there's a bunch of people that can come on, and we kind of cycle through now, and it's been amazing to get to know everyone, because like Cam's an awesome dude, just one of the nicest. David Jolly, one of the best. Everybody on that show is just super nice and kind, and there's nobody where you're like, oh, this guy's got a stick up their butt. Like nobody's ever mean or rude to anybody.
Right.
We're still human, but like nobody's ever out there to just start drama or politics or anything. It's just one happy group of people, and I love it.
That's
nice.
Great. Cool.
That's awesome.
Love that. Hey, so when you asked to be on the show, I asked you, are you mentally ill? And he said, yes. And I said, you qualify then. So this is what I ask guests this question.
Back up when you ask this.
What are your mental health diagnoses?
I have MDD, so a major depressive disorder, and I have a little bit of anxiety. And so those are the major like mental illnesses that I have. And then match that with a traumatic brain injury, and you have the perfect storm for a lot could go wrong if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a lot of work to feel good sometimes, huh? Or
I've understood, like I have a safety plan. I do, where for those who don't know what a safety plan is, when you're feeling certain type of ways, it's what you run to, where you listen to certain types of music, you watch a comfort show, You call the suicide hotline if you need to. You call a friend. You go for a walk. You get a sweet treat. You have all these things that you could do to combat those feelings and understanding and like learning. In the last 10 years, I have a shower. I shower every day. I do my laundry twice a week. I make sure that I have food in the fridge. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. I have a lot of things that I have to be on top of if I want to be the best person I can be and not get sucked into you're worthless, no one would like you, no one wants you around. Because I get suicidal thoughts a lot and they're never going to go away. And I've understood that they're never going to go away. Even though I'm on top of the world and I'm doing all these great things, they're never going to go away. But if I can manage them, if I can have a team, I'm doing therapy now. I just got my therapy, my VA therapy stuff sorted out. So I'll see a therapist in 3 months.
Dude, but they're good, man. Once you get, are you going to do the group or are you going to do one-on-one to start you off?
I have to do one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because group, they're not going to understand half of the thing, half of the battle. Then I don't want to sound like when I'm like, hey, I did bad. And I know 2.2 people watched. I don't want to have everybody in there judging like, oh, you're on top of the world. You just met Joe Rogan.
I will promise you that won't happen. I did that group. I started in group, but that was also where I started learning like how to, I started learning like therapy was in a group, you know, and doing the meditation in a group, you know. So I started that and then it went to one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So a nice combination of the two, because sometimes being in a group lets me put both feet on the ground and go, yeah, I'm not a star. I need that every now and then to just make me go, I got to wash my drawers just like the next dude and come off these stages sometimes. So it's cool. I love that for you though. One-on-one is great though.
And I've seen therapists before. I had a really, really good one and then he had to move.
Oh.
And you know how it is then they just put you with the next person in line
and man, they may not be a match, man.
And the next person was like, oh, all the stuff you guys were doing, I think you have bipolar. Let's put you on medicine.
Right.
Like, nope.
Yep. No.
I got to get a new medicine and I was like, I hate this.
I have this question that about your safety plan. So you say you have a safety plan when you're starting to feel bad. You'll have this list of things you do to feel better. Do you ever have, because this is my problem, is that I will be feeling bad. And then I have the list. I have the things that I know will make me feel better, but I'm not able to do them. And then I just sit in the depression. I sit in the suicidal thoughts. I sit in the self-loathing. And so are you always able to start that list, or is there ever a struggle?
So I have like, the way that I do it is I have like 0 to 1, 2 to 5, and then from 5 to 10. 10 is I call the suicide hotline, but 7 I chat with the suicide hotline online.
Oh,
because the suicide hotline online, they don't actually get your information, so you can talk freely.
Right, you can just text.
And sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to respond.
Right,
but I always try that the hotline is not just for I have a gun to my head. It's also for navigating feelings. When you're feeling uncomfortable and you know your body well enough where you know how you're going to respond and how it can go.
Yeah.
You use the suicide hotline to, hey, I need to talk about this. And the people will listen. They'll give you feedback. They'll tell you, hey, what and then they'll mention your safety plan, and then you can talk out what would be a healthy behavior at that moment.
Right.
And sometimes you have to kind of force yourself, even though you don't want to do it because it's the only way. Because I go from 0 to 100.
Yeah, me too.
And I have certain things that I can't have in my house because of that.
Yeah.
And I live by myself now, which is another challenge because I used to live with roommates.
Yeah.
And that was awesome because you could just sit in the room, not do anything, and they know you well enough. They'll just let you sit there and hang out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's watch this Lego Lego challenge thing, and we'll just have fun doing that. So I've learned living with myself, and I've had to use the suicide hotline a bunch lately, but that's just because it's the holiday season, and it is the toughest season of the year for anybody with depression. And so and it's the time that my brother passed away. We had to pull the plug on December 11th. And so through those days, I'm always like, man, holidays are always rough. But I try to stay on top of things, and I try to manage them, because now there are people that look at me and go, I really care about this person. And sometimes I don't feel that. But sometimes I have to know that sometimes I got to do it for other people, not just myself. There's other people. I'm not just a cog in the machine, because, right? Everyone thinks you die, people get over it, and then someone else new comes in. That's how anyone else, because the world is the machine to people. But knowing that there are people that would be affected deeply because of your passing is something that, if you're not feeling like you want to be alive, you want to be better, because in your heart you want to make people happy. And that's what I want to do. And staying alive, being healthy, and trying my best in whatever I'm doing is what's going to find success in the future. And that's how I see it.
Wow. Amazing.
Have you ever tried yet?
I've attempted suicide twice. I did a belt. I choked myself out with a belt until I passed out. Woke up right in time for work and had belt marks on my thing, and I had to say it was a crazy kinky thing, and they were like, "Oh, you can't," it's
Because if you say sex thing, they're gonna go, "Okay, you're good," and they leave you
they'll be
alone.
like, he might be lying, but we don't know what she looks like.
It's in the same realm for sure. That's so funny that you went there.
And in the second time, I took a whole bottle of Lunesta. Whole
Sleeping pill.
prescriptions were, and chugged 2 Lone Stars, and then someone found me, and they had to pump my stomach, and I had to, that whole deal. So, and that was right when I was in the military. Those are the 2 times I've ever attempted.
What branch were you in?
Air Force.
Air Force. Combat action?
No, but I had some things. I don't like to talk about it too much, but I had some trauma where I got my brain injury.
Yeah.
So I struggle sometimes, because it's made me different, and yes, it's made me the man I am today, who's on the world's biggest podcast. But it's also the coulda, woulda, shoulda. What would have happened if I was just normal? What would have happened if it didn't happen to me and I didn't get a brain injury? And so sometimes I have to really think through it and be like, you know what? Things happen for a reason. You're a kind person. You're a good person. And your heart's in the right place. So don't think about the coulda, woulda, shouldas, because your heart's where it needs to be.
Yeah, I had a Christian therapist one time tell me your steps were ordered. And when they put it in those terms, it's easy for me to go, oh, well, I walked the path that I was supposed to walk to get to where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I used to think, I don't know if God has Windows updates, because some of that path I did not want to walk, man. You're just like, what filing system are you using? And who told you I could handle your toughest battles? I can't, but I get that, though. You just sometimes just got to go, this was the path. I don't like every step of the path, but this was the path I had to be on.
Yeah, and to understand how you can inspire others and make others happy. Sometimes you have to gain a life experience, and sometimes trauma is a part of that. But there's beauty in being able to help other people because you have that experience or that management of navigating something that's treacherous, and being able to be like, hey man, I got you. Let's talk on the phone. Hey, let's get you somewhere safe. Hey, like being able to help other people because you've been through that type of struggle is something that I feel like is really passionate and really gets me over that hump of, man, I don't want to be here. man, I wish I
Right.
was normal. Man, I wish I could find someone who loves me for who I am. Man, I'm
Right.
tired of being lonely. Man, I'm tired of being known as the special ed guy. You know, like those thoughts creep in because we all have those intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Mine haunt me, but navigating is using the hotline and trying to be the best
100%.
person I can be.
And you're uniquely qualified to help other people in similar situations or that you're in, which is, I mean, for me, it's the greatest thing I can do to make myself feel better is step outside of myself and reach out a hand and try to help someone else. And as addicts or alcoholics or people with mental illness, we are uniquely qualified to help people in the same boat.
I think you can reach more people when you bring that into your comedy. Like when your comedy has that slice of life of like, I've really been through some dark things, but here's this funny story I'm gonna tell you about it. I've had more people come up to me after shows to talk
100%.
about stuff and go, I went through that and thank you for not making me feel like a freak. Yeah, no, we've all got some dirt on us, brother.
It's such a hard way to navigate and make things funny.
To make
and
dark
to
stuff funny
find-
is not
to,
easy.
to find that light in that dark ass tunnel because trying to like I told you the minute with my brother, Tony goes, not enough power punches, just a bunch of jabs, and I was like, okay, I get it, but it's a tough one to write, and so I feel like naturally you can find those type of things if you look inside yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's, but also we deal with comics, and comics are some of the strongest people you'll ever meet because some of the things that happen to them and they're still able to bring joy on stage and still fight the battles is something special. I think you never know who you're going to meet and what they've been through, especially in the comedy world, and what brings them towards the joy of making people happy on stage. Because there's people that want to be famous and just want the finer things, and there's people who are there because they love being able to spread joy and really give purpose to people and entertain them and make them happy when they're in a bad place. And I think you'll find you find them by talking and getting to know them. And some of the comics are some of the nicest, most joyful people. Nicest, most joyful people you'll meet. You know,
You're incredibly joyful and you have just a very positive energy. So it might be for people that are a fan of you listening right now, it might surprise them how dark of places that you can go sometimes. But it really is that is something that is a trend with comedians, is that they go to really dark places, and it's wild, how, I mean, I'm experiencing a lot of depression lately, like really bad depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel stuck. I have a safety plan. I'm not able to utilize it right now. I'm not reaching out for help, and it's wild. I'm a host of a mental health podcast, co-host of a mental health podcast, and I'm not taking care of myself at all. And it's just really difficult. And
do you ever feel like you deserve to be miserable sometimes? Have you ever felt that?
I don't feel like I deserve to be happy, or there's no like, oh, I should be happy or anything like that. So that's just and I'll just sit with whatever feeling I have, and I blame myself for a lot of stuff. If something goes wrong, if a relationship doesn't work, if anything, I'll put it on me, and then that I failed, even though like myself, when I'm mentally strong or I'm feeling okay, I can process things. Like, things don't work out, it's okay, it's not anybody's fault. But when I'm not, when I'm in a dark place, it's me, it's I failed. I don't trust like the process or anything, or, I'm just I'm the problem. And it led to a day before Thanksgiving, I was just feeling I was in this really bad place, and I got there was no I hadn't drank since 2021, and there was just one thought that went in my head, and I've had this thought many times, which is I should drink, have it a lot. But this time I listened to it, and I got into my car almost like I wasn't in control of my body, and I drove down to the gas station, and I bought 12 Lone Star bottles, and I came back to my place, and I just drank one after another, and I drank 10 beers, and got really drunk, and then really sad, and really bad thoughts. So drunk Jimmy is not good when he's sad. And it was really scary. And luckily, I got through the night, and I have good friends that kind of took care of me. But
that has to be weird, because right before we came in here to record the show, I told you, hey, Jimmy, I woke up Thanksgiving morning and I almost sent you a message like, get out of your house. Where you at?
yeah.
And then you were telling me this story, and I'm like, oh my God, no wonder he was on my mind so heavy.
It's wild how that happens. And my sponsor from New York, who I hadn't talked to in a long time, texted me on Thanksgiving morning asking how I've been doing. And I'm like, I drank last night.
Wow.
Hey, honesty when you're talking to like a sponsor, because I've been in AA and had those. That's I commend you on that, because a lot of people don't, especially if you haven't been talking to them, and it's been a while. You're like, yo, I failed you.
It feels like that, yeah.
And being open and honest is a really big thing. So I did want to commend you on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and I wanted to be honest on this podcast, because the reason why I wanted to do this podcast is to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the best way I can help people is to be honest about my struggle with alcoholism and addiction. And I know like my parents and my sister watch, and I have trouble being honest about my struggles with my family. So I think it'll be a very cool thing for them to know, hey, I'm still struggling, and they care about me and they want to know. I think what would upset them more is I'm struggling, I relapsed, I'm depressed, I'm having suicidal thoughts, and I don't tell them. I think they would. So
you guys call it your safety plan?
Yeah.
It's a safety plan for when you're thinking suicide?
Yeah.
Whenever I'm suicidal or anything, I go to my safety plan. I have it in my phone.
Right. And it kind of helps, because like when you're having suicidal ideations,
Mm-hmm. Ideation.
nailed it. Everything's heavier, obviously.
Right.
And like really what you need to do, or at least what I need to do, is, okay, everything else needs to be put on hold. Right now, I need to get out of where I am mentally. Mm-hmm. And so there's a list. I don't have a list that's written out. I should, but it's like everything else needs to be put on hold. And I just need to feel better than I feel right now. And
so one of the things that I do, because I get in what I call NASCAR track thinking, where I know this thought is going to lead to this thought, and this is going to lead to this thought, and then I'm just going around in circles until I crash. Right. And so one of the things that I do is I try to put on music that makes me happy or that makes me feel well. If that's not working, I put on videos of scenes I really like that bring out a happy emotion in me. If that's not working, I know there's a mini mart open that's 24 hours. I will walk out of my house wherever I am, and I will walk to a mini mart. I will get a sweet treat. I'll get some air in my system. I'll put some music on, Billie Eilish or whatever I'm feeling, and I go get something. I have a conversation with the mini mart guy. Hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Have a positive interaction, because sometimes when we're in that state of thinking, we're not around anyone to have that positive interaction. So having a positive interaction with a stranger makes me happy, because when I tell a joke and they laugh and then I walk out and they say, you take care, that helps me a little bit. And then I walk home, I think about things that I'm grateful for. And if that's not working, then I'm still in a vulnerable place. I go in a place where I can't access any knives or any weapons or anything. And then I call the suicide hotline. And then I go through everything with them. And I've called the suicide hotline and been on the phone for 3 hours from Austin to Dallas.
Wow.
Because I didn't know if I was going to be safe, and I didn't want to lie to anyone. So I drove from Austin to Dallas on the phone with an operator. And sometimes that's what you need. You just need someone that's able to understand where you're at and where you're going. And that's something that I think. So that's kind of the safety plan that I use, because I don't like to bring other, like my friends or my dad, because I know they'd love if I called them, but I also want that sort of privacy of, okay, I had these thoughts, this is how it's going. And the suicide prevention coordinator that they have with the Veterans Crisis Line, you'll get a suicide prevention coordinator that'll call you and be like, hey, is there anything we can do? I had a call a week or two ago, and they said, hey, we'll get you in touch with the SPC. And then they got me into the system here in Austin so I could go see someone, because that's what I think I've been missing too. So that's some of the stuff that I've been doing, and that's a little bit of my safety plan.
I call it taking myself on a date. And if I say that to my family, that's the code word that everybody get out of my way.
Yeah.
I got to take myself on a date.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is because my brother told me this thing the other day, and he said, you're unibombery. And I said, what? And he says, you've been in your room and the door's locked and you're in there for hours on end. And there's a certain point where I know he's working. He's either writing, he's booking stuff. He said, but eventually that door opens. But if you go too many days and that door doesn't open in 8 hours, you're unibombery. And when he says that, I have to stop and go, where am I mentally? And so then I do this thing where I may say, hey, I'm taking myself on a date. And it doesn't mean anything other than I'm getting out of the house. I'm going to have my phone with me. I have to get out of this room, out of this house, out of these four walls. Sometimes I'll go to a movie. Sometimes I go to Barnes & Noble and just walk the aisles. I have to get out and force myself into interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I don't know a comedian right now. If they had the isolation Olympics, we could all win it.
Yeah.
We could all win that, because me and this dude, we can isolate better than anybody. I know. I've talked to Jimmy and he'll tell me, I didn't leave the house. And I'll be like, I didn't either. I should have called Jimmy. I should have done that.
You really should.
Yeah. Why are we isolating?
It just isolate. I'm like frozen, and it's not pleasant, but it's like comfortable in the sense that it's what I'm used to doing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're free from judgment. When you're not around people, it's like you can be sad. You can cry. Especially when you're known as the happy-go-lucky, change the energy with a lot of positive energy.
Yeah.
When you aren't that way, everyone goes, hey, you okay?
You got to build you a circle of people that's your inner circle. That these are the people I do cry in front of.
Yeah.
And it may only be 3 people, but you need that.
You need that, because people always say, you're always so, people will say to me, like, you're always smiling. You're so happy. And I don't know what it is. I think a little bit of it is that I'm afraid to be vulnerable and for people to see. I see my worth, because I see my worth as like, I'm a comedian, I can make people laugh. And that's always been from when I was young. It's that, that I can make people happy by making them laugh. Is that if I don't have that, I'm worthless. And so I have this like fear that if I show my sad self or my anxious self or, anything that people aren't going to like me anymore.
Dang, that's bad in the rap community. Dudes are scared to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
and just
it's
show
the
that whole
opposite.
thing about themselves, man.
Yeah,
It's one of those things too where if you're vulnerable and then people go, well, that's too much work. I don't want to be around that. And that's one of the things that I've always had trouble with, because struggling with a head injury and being a MDD, major depressive, like I can't drink, because when I drink, I'm like you. I'm not a fun drink. I will be open about, yeah, I want to die right now.
yeah.
And people don't want to be around that. And people don't
No.
want to know that. They care about you, but that's also a lot on another person. And there's a lot of stress.
I think we tell ourselves that nobody wants to be around that. I think you have friends that wish you would call them when you feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
And our problem is we don't. I think we know it and we know who those friends are, but we don't call them. They're like, I don't want to be a burden. And then they're mad at you when you don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were there for.
That's why they're there. They want you to call. For me, it's like I don't want to help myself. So
Yeah.
it's like I have people that I know could help me. I have a recovery program I'm in that I know can help me.
Yeah.
I have all these things that I know can help, and I don't want to do them. So, yeah, I mean, but I get that too, because I would drink and drug, and even the people that love you, I mean, it's not that they don't care, but they're so exhausted about seeing you just make the same mistakes over and over again, and then the alcohol on top of it, and but you still need those people that are unconditional love, and I have found when I've opened up to people recently, they like it, they enjoy, it's a relief for them, because there's a lot of people that are hurting that don't talk about it, and especially in comedy. It's like, when you're just hanging after a show, it doesn't really get deep a lot. You're shooting the shit and having fun and being silly, and that in itself is great therapy and an escape. And comedy for me is a huge escape from myself. But sometimes it's, when you're going through something, and I've gone through stuff publicly where I'm just so depressed I can't hide it, and then like self-harm and everything I'm doing, people are so open to just being there for you, being there for me, helping me and sitting with me and talking with me. I just don't think we have to hide how we feel. I think that's
I hope we
dangerous.
won't. In 2025, I hope that more of us don't, because I told you when we started this podcast, my thing was, it'll be a success if in our first year we don't have to bury any of our friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're in December. We didn't bury anybody.
Thank God. Yeah. I mean, when I think about suicide, it really is, I never looked at it as murder. I thought it's my life, so I can end my life.
Yeah.
So I'm in charge of it, but it's still, I'm killing another human being, and it just happens to be me. And it's,
You never understand the impact of your life on other people sometimes. And if you could see, if I took my life, I think I would, if I was able to see the impact and the impact that would have, I wouldn't want to do it. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that I don't matter. I'm just another, like I think I said earlier, I'm just another cog on the machine. You go to cemeteries and you see people that have been dead for hundreds of years. No one ever knew them, but they planted a seed and they mattered, and their legacy will still live on today, no matter what happens.
right.
Because until humans go extinct, everyone has a place on this earth. And everyone has choices and good and bad to bring to Earth. And we highlight the good when they're gone, but sometimes you just need to highlight the good while they're here.
100%. But I just can't. When I'm in that place, And it's like knowing that if I killed myself, the people I loved would be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what stops me from going further. But then there's just those thoughts that are so heavy that I don't want to do this anymore. For me, when I don't take care of my mental health, life gets so exhausting, and I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to wake up. Gary Goldman said that quote was like, the thing about life is that it's every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's every day. You don't get a day off from this shit. And it's like when I get deep enough in that depression, it's just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just don't want to do it. And it's like, it feels like Groundhog's Day, where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. I don't want to face the challenges that I'm facing. I don't want to feel the emotions that I'm experiencing. I don't want any part of it. And it's like, I don't, and then it's so hard for me to get out of that, and to a point where I'm just like, sometimes I'm just fantasizing about just not existing. And just lately, it's just been like, life has been so hard for me lately, and I'm really not opening up, and I'm not getting help, and I'm just struggling so hard, and I'm not letting people in, and I'm letting like a couple friends in, and they're worried about me, and I'm just not facing how serious this is right now, because I mean, I've just had a couple nights where it's been really, really bad, and for whatever reason, I just can't help myself. I just can't do anything to help myself, and I'm struggling so incredibly much. So like conversations like these, where you're open with me, and where you're open with me and open about yourself, it's such a relief to hear. Because like my struggles they're not unique. And when I'm hurting, I have this thing where it's like, I'm the only one hurting right now. I'm the only one that's going through this right now. I feel so alone in it, and I'm not. And it's a big, important thing. That's what I would say to anyone that's struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts, is that you're not alone with how you feel. And there's somebody that's going through the same thing, probably in the very same moment you are. And they say the opposite of depression is connection or whatever, but being connected with other people is what gets me out of it. But it's when I go so far down the well that I forget that there's people up there waiting for me. It's like, it just feels so dark, and then you feel so alone, and it's just really scary. But I did want to say, I called a therapist for the first time today. I left a message. It's the therapist, another comedian, Nat, recommended. And so, you know, I'm gonna you know, really try to get some help here. And I went to an AA meeting and picked up a white chip of surrender again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I have no choice but to fight. It's like, what am I either struggle and I keep getting sicker, or I fight and I do the things that I know will help.
Yep.
So it's like two paths right now. It's like, you know, which one am I going to choose? And
when you fight, you learn about yourself more.
Yeah.
The more you fight, the more you learn about who you are and who you can be, because you're fighting, because you're giving yourself a real shot. You're developing as a character. When you fall away into the well, you can't grow because you're stifled. You're claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Your chest is heavy. You can't breathe. You're crying. You're putting yourself into a bad state. But when you're fighting and you're climbing out of that hole, you're growing, because now you're finally able to breathe a little bit better. You can see the lights getting there.
Yeah.
Getting a little stronger because you're pulling yourself up, and you learn, and you can grow to be a better person because you're fighting. Because you go to an AA meeting and you might meet a friend that can tell you something different. Or, you're going to a therapist and you're learning, okay, this is a triggering behavior. I need to stop that because I know that's no good for me. I can't go to certain places because I know that's going to trigger me. I can't have certain conversations because I know when I'm alone, it's going to do that. But that's because I've learned by fighting, by saying, okay, I want to be alive. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And keeping myself up, because the more you fight and the more you know you want to be alive, the more you're going to be a better person for everyone around you. And the magic that you can bring to people, sometimes you're never going to see it. But when you're nice to that person and they've had a hard day, they're going to remember that conversation. They're going to remember that big hug and how excited you were to see them. Because I do that for everyone that I love. I'm always excited to see them. I always try to give a smiling face because you never know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And knowing I can't say, I care about you. You're the best person. I want you around every time. But I can give you a big old hug and be like, I'm so excited to see you. That's my way of saying you matter and you're the best, And that's what we can do. And I'm glad you're fighting, man, because fighting is what's going to bring the best out of you. It's tough, and you're going to have those days where it feels like you're useless and it's not working, because I still have those days. And I know how severe it can be with drinking, because I know if I take another sip of alcohol, I'm dead. I know that.
Yeah.
And it's not anyone's fault. Everyone's body's different. I could drink before my head injury. I was okay. I got 4 beers, have a great time, and leave. Got my head injury. Now I can't. Now I'm like, oh, I'm a NFL player. I'm Steve McNair. And you know what Steve McNair did? He shot himself in the head in the living room, Like Junior Seau, same thing. I am cut from that cloth. And so I have to fight and know that my body is different and my mind is different than everyone else's. And I have to take precautions because of that. But I'm going to fight, and I'm going to do things that take care of myself. And when I take care of myself, I grow. Or when I grow, I spread joy and magic to other people. And that's what you're going to do, Jimmy. The more you fight, the more you're going to spread joy to other people, and you're going to spread joy to yourself, because you're contributing towards a happier life for other people too, and a happier life towards yours. Because sometimes we don't think about what the joy that we can bring to other people by being ourselves and being who we are. So.
Wow. Thanks, Drew. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I think that's what will happen. It's me putting that work in and fighting. Because right now I'm just kind of laying down and letting depression kick my ass.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, hey, if you watch a boxing match, there's always a part where you're like, hey, I'm just gonna take a couple hits. I'm resting.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna knock this bitch out. You're resting. I'm about to knock this
take
bitch
a round
out.
I hope I'm in that part, like a Rocky, where it's like, okay, now it's the shake off. Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be all right.
Because I'm not doing this shit without you. I'm saying that now. We will not.
Yeah.
You got to stick around.
I really don't think about all the people that would be affected when I think about suicide. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're just really in a place where it's just like, and it's a scary place.
It's a very impulsive thought.
It's impulsive.
People don't realize that it's not something where you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this and buy that.
Right.
You literally go, okay, what's the closest thing to me and how can I do this?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had suicide plans, but when you plan it out, like I bought rope and I learned how to tie a noose from a YouTube tutorial for a scarecrow. And I had it in my place, and I was like, you know what? If I ever feel this way again, I know exactly where to go, and I'm just gonna hang myself. It takes 4 to 16 minutes for me to hang myself, for me to die. And I know this place doesn't get a lot of traffic. I could do this like that. I got really drunk one night, and I told people about my noose. And they took it away and threw it away. And it was me getting blacked out and telling people that. And there were some people that were really upset with me because they didn't know that I was feeling that way. But then they understood, hey, we're glad you're here. And it was just an impulse of like, hey, I'm going to buy this rope. I'm going to learn how to tie it.
Yeah.
And I was, that close from it.
I told you in our first episode, I had a journal.
Yeah.
I plotted it out.
Mm-hmm.
I had a death journal. And I still remember some of the information about how to, like, you can't go on to the internet and find out how to make a cocktail that's going to kill you, because they will block it. If you try to Google that, they will put up suicide prevention hotlines. But I worked in tech, so I knew what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then if you work in tech and you know how to beat a search engine and what question to ask, then you can know, oh, well, if I mix this and this, that'll take it out. Yeah. But that's when I was in that thing. My brother said, sometimes you're too smart for your own good. And it was one of those things. But I hope what happens to you guys, and I'm going to pray this, in 2025, I want you to have the experience I had. I had somebody come up to me at a show in Tyler, Texas, and tell me how my comedy showed them the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think you need to have that experience, because sometimes we don't know. Like if I throw a rock into a pond of water, those ripples, that's you. Those ripples are all the people that your life affects.
Yeah.
We throw a rock into the pond of Jimmy, he ripples outward. So there's your mom, there's your dad, there's your sister, there are your friends, there's the comedy scene, there's this whole podcast, me and Justin. There are people who love you from Florida, all your boys that, guys like Brent Reed and Cam. So you touch lives.
It's one of those things you don't understand it, and sometimes you don't see the big picture because you're focused on the little picture of yourself. And when like you said, that light, you're stuck in that hole. You don't get to see the picture when you're in a hole.
Mm-mm.
You don't get to see that.
No.
You're only focused on what's going on in here while you're down there. But there's a whole big picture of people that you affect. And I've had to learn that now with the reach that I have, that there are people that hate me, but there's also people that love who I am and what I'm doing. They've never met me, but they've met me through a screen. And I've gotten a lot of messages of, oh, you made me, I'm always happy when I see you. You're such a good thing. And it does make you feel better especially when you're seeing all those nasty things being said about you, even if you're not even looking for it. I had a picture on the mothership thing, and I didn't even look, and I see Drew Nickens is a charity case that just needs to go away, and it hurt.
Oh,
because
yeah,
I thought I did great, and I wasn't even looking at the comments, but I saw that incidentally, and then because they tagged me, I was seeing every comment that was being made, and because I was looking at my notification, it was just ugly, and it was like a really tough time. And then I got a couple messages that were really positive, and sometimes you can't focus on the negative. You got to really find the good things in life. And I know it's so hard. It's so hard to find good things sometimes when you're.
But there are so many good things in life, and so many
stinking thinking goes.
It will drown everything out. Like you said, it will make everything seem dark, and you won't be. But there's so much beauty. There is so much beauty in this world, and there's beauty in little, tiny moments. And when I'm going through major depressive episodes, I will have those little glimmers of light. Mm-hmm. And where it's like, and what those things do is remind me it's gonna be okay.
And, that shot of joy that you get, and you know exactly that where your body just feels
It's a little like
that little
burst, like,
shot
okay,
of joy.
or that laugh that you get, like, because like I'll be in these like
when you're
dark
just
places, and then something will happen, or someone will say something, and then you're just laughing, like, and you can't really be depressed when you're laughing out of
when I'm watching a boxing match and it's a good like the women's boxing match and the Jake Paul fight. I was with a friend from Battle Rep like 10, 15 years ago, and we were at his place, and I was just having so much fun at that place because I was able to just react and have fun and just go, get her, Katie, And it was such a good moment where I was like, you know what? Life is pretty okay right now.
yeah.
Because it was just a small little thing that they probably didn't get the same but energy of it, but it meant so much that day because I had been having a rough one, and learning to live with disappointment is something that I think it's not the end of the world.
No.
I got cut from Madison Square Garden both nights because of time. Nothing I did wrong, but I was supposed to be performing on Madison Square Garden for the Kill Tony show, and I didn't get on both nights. It wasn't anything I did. They weren't being, but it was just for time constraints. And having to be at a after show party and be the only one that didn't get on, it was a little, there was this really bad thing. But then I had this like, me and John Dees were dancing to some rap song. I forget what it was, but he started dancing and I started dancing with him. And then he goes, okay, I see you, Black. And from there, it was like it overturned the rest of the night. I was able to have fun. And then, the party was over. And then it was back to taking thing. And then I had a really nice, pleasant talk with Tony afterwards about it because I think he knew. Everybody kind of knew, okay, that's a bummer. But it was one of those things where those small glimmers can carry you.
Yeah.
And to hold on and cherish those, because sometimes that's what's going to help you fight is there's something on that end. You don't see it when your chest is heavy and everything else, but when you understand, being sober means I get to have clear thoughts. Having fun when you're sober is different. When you can go into a place and like I go into Mitzi's and there's weed smoke and there's drinking everywhere, but I get a liquid death and then I'm having the time of my life. And I've understood these are the moments, the little glimmers when a celebrity goes, "Oh, you did so good." I'm like, "Yay!"
Yeah.
So I get you 100%.
Sunsets are my jam now.
Yeah.
I love sunsets, dude. I take pictures of sunsets, and then I don't know what it is, but I can sit there and just watch the sunset and the way the skies, especially in Texas, where the skies get that orange and kind of purple look.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, and I'll just take that picture and go, I remember this. And so I'm setting up a photo on my phone of sunset so I can go, I need to remember what I felt this moment. There it is. So you got to find your thing. Like you say,
Little
there's beauty
moments.
everywhere. But if we focus on the ugly, guess what? The ugly's all you going to see.
Yeah.
So.
I watch my first episode every once in a while. It's just a game tape. But it's also that night I didn't know what was going on. And it was there was so much adrenaline. And like I couldn't soak it in because it was just
Yeah.
everyone was just so happy, and it was just the energy was just so great, and I couldn't believe what was going on, and I flash back to that when I'm sad, and there's a video that Joke World made about me that talks about things like that.
I saw that video. It's amazing.
And it's a really, really, really good one because it shows where I was, and I didn't break. I wasn't negative. I wasn't mean. I wasn't bitter that I wasn't getting on. It was more about enjoy where you're at, because these are the memories that you're going to think about out there at Poor Choices or Shakespeare's. Those are the memories you're going to make, because if it doesn't go well on Kill Tony, you have all these great people you've met. You have all these stories you can tell from that. and you never know what could happen next. And maybe it's just a blip in the road. Maybe it's a life-changing moment. But it's about the memories you're making and the people you're befriending. So I love it.
Amazing.
That's how we got to live life.
All right. Looks like, man, we had some time in here. We put in some episode on this one, bro. We put some time in.
Thank you so incredibly much for coming on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's
Thank y'all
just
for
when I
having me.
needed.
I appreciate you for being open and honest. I appreciate you for coming on and doing the same.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've ever got so much into the weeds before. I think this is a really good first episode, season 2.
Yeah.
I think it's really good, and it's definitely the direction that we want to go, where we really get hands-on and really talk about some difficult stuff, because people need to hear this kind of stuff. And so thank you both. Thank all 3 of you for being here today.
Thank you.
And making something special. Thank you so much, Drew.
Yeah, thank y'all. This was
Where can we find you online?
You can find me at _Drew Nickens on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where I'm at social media wise. You can watch Kill Tony every Monday. You might see my face there. I try to do shows when I can. So mostly check my Instagram page for shows. And if you ever feel sad, I'll try and find you. I try to look at my hidden too. I try to read my inbox. So if you ever need to talk, let me know.
I've been having to do that more. There's so much stuff that was in my hidden folder on Instagram, and I'm getting better about reading that. Jimmy?
Yep. I'm on Instagram, jimmy.moynihan. And I post everything I do there.
Yep. And you can find us also both at the Pain Management
Pain
Podcast.
Management Podcast on Instagram. And we're available on Spotify, iTunes, and the Creek in the Cave Studios YouTube page.
Yeah.
Which is some exciting stuff's happening there. So it's really,
It's
really
gonna be so
cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
Coach Silky on Instagram. Just go there. I'm
Yes.
just trying to consolidate you all. But please
Coach
ask that
Silky.
question. It's my new
Okay.
favorite.
What makes you tick?
What makes me tick? People being rude to people.
No, I mean, yeah.
What makes me ticked is what I was thinking.
Oh,
No,
you're
someone
thinking
else wants
ticked.
to-
Like, I'm
Yeah,
mad.
I was
Okay.
like, oh.
What makes you ticked? What makes you tick? Like what pops you out
keeps
of bed
me
in the
going?
morning? What keeps you going?
Being able to make people happy, seeing smiles on faces is just, it's a real thing. And being able to have, hey, how you doing? Good interactions, and knowing that I get to live the life I live now, which is just getting better by the day, and knowing that I'm making a real impact on the people I want to make an impact on. So that's what's
You are
making
Buddy
me tick.
the Elf. Your energy
You're
is
the
so
best.
good.
Thank you.
You're
I
the
think
best.
you should just be our new Christmas guy. Every December I have to interview you. I don't care where I'm at.
Santa!
Yeah. This is that Buddy the Elf energy. I needed it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening and watching. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Creek in the Cave. And we'll see you next episode.
Welcome to season 2.
I have problems.